Lee Steinberg became the world's first sports super agent, signing players that would eventually go on to be some of professional football's biggest names. Your name is an iconic figure in sports.
Take someone through the draft, that's bonding. You negotiate a contract, that's bonding.
Help me help you.
It's trying to pass down this knowledge and create a new generation of sports professionals with ethics and values.
People want a career change.
Exactly.
Sure, like myself.
We'll take you under our wing.
I would love it.
This is our moment. Ain't no better time to be great than today.
Hey, yo, it's DJ Khaled.
Hey, this is Kim Kardashian.
I'm Chuck the Iceman Liddell.
Hey, I'm Scott Storch.
What up, y'all? This is Fat Joe.
This is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you're watching
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Mike Sherman. Don't ever stop.
Everybody starts somewhere. These are their stories before the fame. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Before the Fame. And I'm your host, Mike Sherman. Tonight's show is on superstar sports agent Lee Steinberg. Now, Lee had an illustrious career, some highs and some lows. He goes all the way back to the 1970s when he first represented quarterback Steve Bartkowski of the Atlanta Falcons, as well as Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman, heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis, and current Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes and Tua Tagovailoa, who represents the Miami Dolphins right behind me.
Believe that this is our moment. Ain't no better time to be great than today.
I caught up with Lee in Miami Beach.
You know, your name is an iconic figure in sports, primarily in football. You're one of the key agents that started the game of negotiations with players going back over 40 years ago. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how it all began. You started your first, or negotiated your first contract in 1975 with one of your friends from college, Steve Bartkowski from the Atlanta Falcons. At the time, it was one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. How did it all come about?
So I was going to UC Berkeley as an undergrad and then law school. I was working my way through law school as a dorm counselor in an undergraduate dorm. And they moved the freshman football team into the dorm, and one of the students was Steve Bartkowski. So when he ultimately graduated, he became the very first player picked in the first round of the NFL draft. And he asked me to represent him.
Atlanta Falcons select Steve Bartkowski, quarterback, University of California.
Well, when I found out I was going to be the #1 pick of the Atlanta Falcons, it was just one of overall excitement, kind of a total exploding of emotion for me. It was kind of like a dream come true.
I probably looked at him the way that Dorothy looked at Toto when they got to Munchkin Land and said, I know we're not in California anymore.
You know how long, man?
If Steve Bartkowski looks half as good in Falcon Red as he did in California Blue, Atlanta fans will be more than happy.
It turned out to be an experience that would change Lee's entire career path.
But originally you went to law school and you had no intentions of being a sports agent. You were going to go and be probably a criminal attorney or a personal injury attorney, and then you saw an opportunity after you did negotiate Steve Bartkowski's contract. You said, hey, I'm onto something here. This could be very lucrative for me with other NFL players. So after that initial contract, who was your second player, and when did you feel that this could turn into a nice career?
So I wasn't really sure at the beginning because they had all-star games and bowl games. I sent a lot of people to help me recruit. And I realized that even though I had a reasonable draft class the second year, it wasn't up to the Bartkowski standard. And what I learned in the first couple of years was that if I could profile a prospective client who shared the same values, who believed in the same priorities, who was willing to be a role model, who was willing to consider second career, who holistically I could represent, I would have a really good chance of those families and those players being clients I signed. And if I was just out talking to every athlete in the world, I might have a much lower percentage. So I had to make that adjustment.
Through that method, Lee Steinberg became the world's first sports super agent, signing players that would eventually go on to be some of professional football's biggest names, and ushering in the era of the sports celebrity.
So you have an industry which now is full of agents. I mean, I hate to use the word car salesman, but they're all over the place. Everybody wants to be involved in sports. These athletes are making millions of dollars through endorsements, bonuses, perks, blah, blah, blah. When you get to that player who you know is going to be a star, and you meet with him for the very first time, his parents, his girlfriend, his wife, you know he's been reached out by a million other agents. What is your X factor?
It's listening. So everyone thinks in life it's suasion, but if you can not generically represent an athlete, but listen and ask probing questions so you can peel back the layers of the onion, to cut below surface responses, to get to who someone really is. And if you can understand their deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams, you can emotionally bond. It's the ability to see the world the way another person sees it, to be inside their heart and mind, and to understand how you can best fulfill an athlete.
A lot of these kids, because they're kids when they come out of college, are 20, 19, 21. Some don't have fathers, some don't have mothers. They look at you as that void in their life. They have to trust you. They got to feel that he's got my back, as they say today. Have you created bonds with some of these men and athletes over the years that are just lifelong?
Absolutely. So these are different relationships than you would have basically as an attorney in another field, because you go through the draft together. And so the whole world is competing to be drafted high, but you take someone through the draft, that's bonding. You negotiate a contract, that's bonding. You transform someone's situation. You help mentor them into the right way to approach a city and a team.
Even as the fame and contracts grew larger, Lee always retained some important core values.
So my dad had raised me with two core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family. And the second was try to make a meaningful impact in the world in a positive way and help people who can't help themselves.
It was Lee that recommended one of his non-football clients, boxing champion Lennox Lewis, record an anti-domestic violence PSA in 2008.
Hey, I'm Lennox Lewis. In life, I'm a lover. In the ring, I'm a fighter. But when the match is over, the punches stop. Because violence is no way to solve a problem.
At his peak in the 90s, Lee Steinberg represented 8 #1 NFL draft picks. At one point, he represented half of the NFL's starting quarterbacks in the league.
Well, there was a game when Pittsburgh played Dallas back in '95, where I had all 6 of the starting quarterbacks. But even worse, I had defensive backs. So I had Carnell Lake on the Steelers, rushing Troy, and I had Darren Woodson on the Dallas Cowboys. So it's always a mixed blessing. In other words, Bruce Smith led the NFL in sacks. That's the good news. The bad news is he was sacking my blinds.
God, help me. Help me, Rod. Help me. Help you.
In 1996, Hollywood came calling. Lee Steinberg was the inspiration for the Tom Cruise movie Jerry Maguire, and he served as a consultant during filming.
This moment will be the moment of something real and fun and inspiring in this God-forsaken business, and we will do it together. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me?
While the 90s were golden for Lee Steinberg, the 2000s would become an absolute nightmare.
So there had been a series of events in my personal life, not work life, because I expect problems and I don't really feel stressed doing what we're doing. It's exhilarating. My father died of cancer, a long death. My kids were diagnosed with severe eye problems. We lost a home to mold and had to smash it to the ground, and then I got divorced, and I felt powerless, that I couldn't do what a father should be able to do, protect his kids, what a son should be able to do, protect his father, what a husband should be able to do, which is keep a roof over our head, and then hold the marriage together.
Bankrupt, Lee Steinberg became a hopeless alcoholic, a shell of his former self.
Over the past 5 or 6 years, you came onto some tough times and you were able to overcome that adversity to get back into the mainstream of sports agency. Was it something that you knew you'd always be back, or was it tough getting to where you are right now for the second time?
Well, when I struggled with alcohol, I made a commitment that all that would be important to me is to be a good father and to maintain sobriety, and anything else would just be icing on the cake. But I never doubted that our concept of role modeling and trying to make a positive difference in the world and using sports to address a whole series of issues and helping young men achieve their dreams and prepare them for a second career was a formula that would attract young men.
The Kansas City Chiefs select Patrick Mahomes, the second quarterback.
One of the biggest parts of Lee Steinberg's comeback has been in the form of his client, superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who led the Kansas City Chiefs to victory in Super Bowl 54.
You're the man, bro.
Did you know he was going to have the game of his life and bring that team back in the fourth quarter?
That was the third straight game in the playoffs that he had brought them back. So there were moments of fear, but a great player like Patrick has the ability in adversity. Maybe you've thrown some interceptions, maybe the crowd's starting to boo, maybe the game's getting out of hand. And in that moment, compartmentalize, adopt a quiet mind, and elevate their level of play to take a team to and through victory. So at the end of the day, quarterback greatness is measured by the ability to take a team to and win the Super Bowl. So he was able in only his second year to do that.
Great drive! Great drive!
Now, it seems that you have a history of finding these quarterbacks that have that DNA, and we're going to go all the way back to Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, and now Patrick. How do you see this talent in these young athletes as they come through college, right before they go to the draft, to select them?
By profiling a young man and looking at his background, understanding his familial structure, understanding what's in his heart. Because at the end of the day, it's not all about talent. Work ethic and passion, and then what you do in critical situations. So you can see that quarterback who ascends or rises to the occasion. You can see the ones that won't put in the time to achieve excellence.
And it would appear that Lee Steinberg's method of listening is proving as successful as ever with Patrick Mahomes.
What Patrick wanted to do was to make it clear to the people of Kansas City that he had a commitment to the community and he had a commitment to the team. So one of the things he was very set on was that they have enough ability as a team to retain that core of players, because his aspiration is to go back to more Super Bowls, more Super Bowls.
Welcome back. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Today's show is on superstar sports agent Lee Steinberg.
This morning, growing questions over the NFL season and how players will head back to the gridiron safely with training camp set to kick off in just 10 days.
With the 2020 NFL season disrupted due to the pandemic, I asked Lee his thoughts on how the sport can proceed.
Now we have this pandemic all over the world. Professional sports is opening up slowly, no fans. What's your thought process on the NFL? Will it be as exciting as people think? Give me the pros and cons to what we're looking to expect.
So obviously the first key in all of this is safety. And we want the players to be safe, but they have really sophisticated testing methods, restrictions on what players can do. As a matter of fact, when they canceled the college football season, my first instinct was if you had a 19-year-old who was involved in football, would he be safer with Nick Saban testing him every day, controlling where he went when he wasn't on the football field,
right,
or being like another millennial who hit the bars and
sure,
contributed to the spike in cases.
Mm-hmm.
I think those players will probably be among the safest people in the whole country. This is all a grand experiment in a brave new world. It's an experiment, and if things don't go safely, you can always shut it down.
Lee is also invested in the future, devoting much of his time teaching the next generation of sports super agents.
What's next for Lee moving forward in sports agency? And I'm not just talking the NFL, I'm talking about all of sports.
One of the things we're doing is trying to mentor the next generation of sports professionals. So we have an agent academy that we've held probably 20 times around the country, which teaches specific skill set to young people, how to negotiate, how to recruit. They actually had to recruit Patrick Mahomes or Ronald Jones with Tampa and their families. Negotiate a contract, how to do a charitable foundation, how to deal with damage control. So part of it is to educate the next generation. We also do a sports career conference, which is happening this weekend in Denver. And again, it's trying to pass down this knowledge and create a new generation of sports professionals with ethics and values and the rest. And then we're tackling societal issues too. So I've encouraged my athletes to speak out on issues of justice.
They're how you recruit, they're how you deal with clients, they're conflicts of interest. Here's what we'd like to help you do. Here's how we're going to do it.
It's not just young people. Sometimes it's
people want a career change.
Exactly.
Sure, like myself. That would be the perfect job. I would love it.
We'll take you under our wing.
I would love it. I would love
it. We, the National Football League, believe Black Lives Matter.
You have so many athletes now that you represent going through this tough time right now with Black Lives Matter and all these protesters. What would you tell these guys to keep them all solid and grounded?
To, first of all, educate themselves on the issues, to do some reading, to do some studying, so that when they do speak, they're grounded in solid fact and to understand the issues. I think it's important. One of the enemies for athletes is the concept of self-absorption, which is living in a little athletic community, not understanding, what's going on.
Just hearing
in
their peers, not really seeing the full picture.
Right, and not living in the larger world.
Right.
And so I think that they're being active and speaking out are, but then at a certain level, what are you actually going to do? Can you buy kids lunch programs like Patrick Mahomes does?
Lee Steinberg pioneered the current landscape of professional athletes' representation on and off the playing field.
I've been proud of how our athletes and our firm has risen to the occasion in the midst of both the virus and also the fight for social justice, and really been leaders in that field. So if I can help stimulate the best values in young men, prepare them to be role models, prepare them for second career, and additionally make a difference so we can tackle domestic violence or sex trafficking or racism or the environment through the power of sports, then it's a fulfilling life.
Lee Steinberg, a true visionary. From the NFL to Hollywood to sports figures all over the world, and representing tomorrow's superstars. Well, guys, that's our show for this week. I really hope you enjoyed it. But tune in for next week's show, where once again, we go down memory lane of some of the biggest names in sports, music, and entertainment, all before the fame. And don't forget to send us your video questions. We'll put you on the show. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mike Sherman. Thanks for watching.